buy more car washes, buy more marinas. Laundromats are very hard to come by. I mean, these are all very hard to come by because if someone owns something that's cash flowing, why would you sell it? It's got to be the right time, right? So it's like there's certain things that I'm tracking, whether they sell next year or the year after, but I like to try to do one sort of investment, one deal a month. That's really my goal. Like that's my ultimate. That's my goal. I'm finding something and then I'm putting my own name on it and then selling it to the investors. Investors have to like it. I have to like it because it's my guarantee. It's my name. I have to put money into everything. Sometimes a significant amount of money, and then you have to come up with that.
Thank you, David Shorenstein, for coming on the Broker Brunch. I know it's a busy day in New York City. You got ICSC. Was it a busy crowd over there?
Very busy. I usually never go for whatever reason because you think you see these people and you talk to them all the time, but you know what? When seeing people in person, you have a different connection. Just met with one guy. Been trying to get him to like look at my deals forever as an investor. This guy's a billionaire, and he was sitting there by himself. You just go up, you talk to him. Now you really get his attention. So it just shows you got to get out there and meet people.
There's something to it, isn't there? Just being in front of somebody, being able to sell so much easier, convey that you have a real business plan, that you're a real person. Get someone's attention for 5 to 10 minutes. It's got to be better than maybe 6 months of phone calls.
100% phone call. You just hang up and that's it. I mean, that's how we met a year ago, right?
Right, yeah.
In person. Yeah. I mean, I'd still take your call, but it's a little more connection.
But I could have cold called you like so many times, and it's just a number. It's so easy to like just hang up or not answer it. You're busy. But if you get someone's attention in person, you really have a shot at trying to influence something or make something happen.
100%. That's what I think the fundamentals of business are all about.
Which is kind of ironic because I kind of associate you as the the hard mailer, the king of hard mail. I know that you built a business basically on putting money into the post box. So you obviously know how to capture people's attention, right? There's many different ways to do it.
Yeah, that's true. But it always came down to even the mail gets your foot in the door. Then what do you do after that, right? Like, how do you handle the phone call that comes in? If you fumble that ball, you're still not going to get the deal. Like the mail and the initial lead is one thing. Yeah, that's hugely important. But same thing with a cold call. You cold call, like, how's the follow-up? How's the did you set the meeting, right? How's your proposal? How are you showing them value, why to work with you, as opposed to you have brokers calling, you have other buyers calling, they could refinance. Like, you have to show them some sort of value proposition of why to work with you at the end of the day. Like the mailer, yes, it was a good idea and gimmick. And I was just with another group there that, I don't know, they were doing mailers too. They copied exactly what I did. It worked for a period of time, and now they stopped doing it because, you know what? There's just too much access to information out there. I mean, I still do it here and there, but it's not a top generator of leads. It's actually cold calling and brokers.
It's a bit like an information overload, right? So you've got to try and think of creative ways to capture your attention.
Right. So is it text messaging? But there's so much blast spam text messaging out there, or is it email blasting, texting? I've tried all these things, and I think it's just back to the fundamental of the cold call, right? It's the fundamental of the cold call, who's following up, and being at the right place at the right time.
So if we were to dial it right back, so you started as a broker, right? So the cold call was probably your first tool that you used maybe to originate business, and then you progressed to other formats. At what point did you realize that your time was better spent going straight for the deal for yourself rather than trying to broker it?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still a broker, right? I'm brokering my deals to investors, right? You're always got the broker mentality. It's just in a different form. Same exact skill set, finding something, evaluating something, selling it to your investors, right? You got to sell it to your investors. Not everyone just can buy everything with their own money. It's just not realistic. Then you'll only buy X amount of buildings, right? So, really, sometimes you're forced out of things, right? Like great financial crisis. You guys are probably too young, but it was a similar time to the last 2 years where interest rates have gone up dramatically, or like a COVID, right? Things outside of your control where there were no banks, there's no money. So how can you broker deals? So, right. So what are you going to shift and do something else? You're going to try to make a margin on certain deals just to make a living. I mean, it was flipping contracts in the Bronx on 3 families, 6 families, because there are a lot of people getting foreclosed on, right? That was the opportunity. People were losing their shirts in all types of residential, 3 families, 5 families, 6 families, and there was tiny little spreads in between them, right? And then finally, there was no brokerage to be had because no one could sell their building, right? Like, how can you broker a deal if no one can actually sell it? So similar to what's been happening with the spike in the interest rates, the people that are only selling are people that have to sell.
Mm. You strike me as someone who's very entrepreneurial in the true sense, the fact that you can pivot where the opportunities are. So you bought stuff in LA, you're buying in Hamptons, you did it, I believe, when rent regulated back a few years ago, but now, like a lot of people, you don't believe in that thesis. So like, how do you try and identify them opportunities early on and see value for and get a return for your investors?
Thanks for listening to the Broker Brunch. We've now brought you a ton of episodes and we hope we're providing a lot of value. If you have any ideas of people you'd like to see on future episodes, please drop it in the comments so we can make it happen.
Just in the last 2 years, I just started pivoting more to like higher cash flowing opportunities, because when I started the Hildreth business, I wanted to actually try to have cash flowing assets. So once the market became slow, I just had to really look into different things, and or you just look for things in your marketplace. Like if I'm looking in the Hamptons, I saw a marina that was cheap, and then I bought and sold that very quickly, and that led me into actually buying and syndicating a marina. Or same thing with laundromats, knowing a tenant for 15 years, a guy that was in the business, and find that really, really cheap deal when interest rates went up. No one could buy this building, and if you're the owner user, you can do something. So becoming the owner user, you can, I guess, pay a little bit more and get higher cash flow out of it. So
you're partnering with the operator, which is very smart because they understand the business.
That is the only way I'm able to do these things. I have my business partner operates the marina. Basically, it's a huge part of his time. Knows how to do that. Another business partner operates car washes, and the other one is like the tenant investor partner for the laundromats. When they were transitioning out of real estate too, because real estate also has been slow, so they had to figure out something else. So it's kind of like mixing together. As to like other markets, it's that's challenging because I just if you don't have someone there, I believe it's an easy way to make a mistake. But I do think there's opportunities in other places. I mean, now I've heard, I used to do a lot of stuff in LA. I have a couple shopping centers there, which nothing to do with rent regulation, but I heard that market's just imploded, from what I've heard.
So a sector, the business sector, acquiring business, that's been a huge growing asset class. It seems like I think there's 5,000 baby boomers retiring every day. So it seems like there's a huge runway for someone like yourself.
There's a lot. I mean, I'm looking at all types of businesses. It's the same thing. If you're looking at a plumbing company, you don't have the plumber you could trust. How do you really do it at the end of the day? No matter how cheap it is, you could probably make a very bad mistake doing something like that. But there's a lot of the stuff on the social media about buying these companies, this and that, and now being in these things. There's a lot of people that sell them that lose money on them. I mean, I just bought I own a laundromat in Bushwick, and the thing actually loses money, but I'm selling it for a profit because I sold to a guy, gave him a loan, took it back, and then selling it for a profit. If this buyer wasn't there, I probably would have lost. I paid very, very cheap, but still, it would have been a slow bleed out. So it's not guaranteed.
Are you seeing more increased competition from buyers?
Oh, these things it's always competitive, right? Anything that's cash flowing, why does someone want to sell it? I only want to buy it from people that are, really transitioning, right? That are really selling, that are not price motivated or haven't added value to that certain thing. So the criteria is very, very targeted, and there's only, it's like the same thing of I only buy free market mixed use buildings in Manhattan. I own 9 of them. How many of those are really left, right? That are not value add. Maybe there's 3,000 left, and if only 5 to 7% of those sell a year, that would be a lot, And then I'm competing with brokers who are giving them proposals and other buyers and people copying and doing the mail, and I'm doing the mail, and everything is competitive, right? It's like nothing.
You stay ahead though, obviously, right? Because you seem like you've been able to adapt new businesses, create new opportunities for yourself, because something that works yesterday or today mightn't work tomorrow, and you seem to be almost, you're not emotional about that. You just, okay, so now that doesn't work. So now what will work next?
Right. There's a lot of things that haven't worked. I've made tons of mistakes, right? And there's some things outside of your control, right? Like law changes or interest rate changes or tax law changes. It's like when the car washes change from 100% to 60%. That I think that market has taken a hit, but then there's some opportunity. I only buy them in places where they can't be recreated. So, and luckily I have the person to run them. And that's what people want to. You also have to go where the people want to invest. People want to pay less taxes. People want higher cash flow. That's just my investor base, right? If I have a regular shopping center, could be the best shopping center, might only earn cash on cash 6-9%, right? Once you send out your dividends, a car wash could be 15, could be, right? At least you have the potential to get to 15 quickly and with better tax benefits. So I have to go where I can also raise the money, what people want. You listen to your customer, right? You listen to your investors. What are people looking for?
Identify their pain points and then try to come up with a solution to treat it.
Come up with a solution, right? We're trying to give the seller a solution, why to work with you, give your investor solution, why to invest in you. Because there's a lot of investments out there, right? People have choices of thousands of investments. Why are they doing this with you? Because
you're able to look at it through this real estate lens because that's your expertise and your background, and you're able to partner then with people who bring maybe an operating level of professionalism to it, whereas you say, listen, I'll find the bricks, you run the business, and all of a sudden then you can sell that story to people who want to do better on their taxes or get a return.
Exactly.
You're basically a broker. You really are a broker.
That's what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
In the traditional real estate deals that I do, buying a shopping center from your company, closing on Tuesday, that's more something I'm more hands-on. I'm finding the tenants too. Like that's salesmanship. I'm also the leasing broker, right? I'm trying to put in the coffee shops and the bike store and calling them all myself. In addition to, I didn't find the deal. It was brought to me by your firm, brokerage firm, but then raise it. Shout out to Ripco. Yes. Amazing guy, team, everything. Just so lucky to, be able to, know him for so long, but buying the deal. Now I'm going out and finding the tenants, right? Like that's what I'm doing.
Are you doing that in conjunction with leasing brokers?
Yeah, we'll hire someone, but I'll hire someone, but at the end of the day, like if people made a lot of money just putting in their own tenants, right? Or finding their own tenants, right? Like that's you make the shape of your own center.
It's almost contrary to what we would believe because we're very much of the opinion, like we specialize, right? We only sell buildings, we only represent owners, basically only work in certain markets. Whereas you seem just to go totally the opposite direction, that I'll hire a leasing broker, but I'll also figure it out myself, and I'll also figure out the laundromat, and I'll also raise money, I'll also sell buildings, I'll also originate deals, and I'll also do marketing. That just seems like a crazy amount of things to juggle on, say, a random Monday or Tuesday morning.
It's tremendous amount of juggling. I mean, there's always a leasing broker. You'll always hire a broker, and especially for selling buildings, I'll always hire a sales broker, right? But have I sold plenty of buildings in my day myself somehow and paid the broker? Of course, that's just the way I am.
You sell with a broker because you think you might get a premium by selling with them, whereas if you were buying, you'd probably look to go direct to an owner to cut out the middleman.
Correct. Oh, I personally would always sell with the broker.
We always come with this challenge, with a lot of owners that don't want to. We give our case why you should, but not everyone has their own preference, right?
Right. I mean, maybe they meet someone through their attorney or so. I don't know how they meet these. I don't understand how it happens.
Well, we always say that you don't know if you're leaving money on the table. You don't know if someone out there's going to pay more.
That's right. I just don't know where most people get their buyers from at the end of the day. I see all these transactions.
Yeah. And I think if we think about it, it's like, if you asked us on a specific deal, we can backtrack into where it was, but it's really, as you can probably appreciate, it's a combination of just doing everything, right? Doing all your calls, doing all your email marketing, putting them up everywhere online, putting a sign on the building, telling everyone that bought in that market in the last 12 months that this deal is available. And I think some way in there, then you create a market and all of a sudden there's competing bids. And I think it's just by doing everything all the time.
You got to be doing everything all the time. And there's the people that will go a certain place, and then there's people that won't go. That's just my opinion.
And that's the I guess the hard truth, and the simple fact of it is that it's that easy and it's that hard. So just keep doing it all the time, and
most
you'll probably
people,
be fine.
like you said, with the podcast, they stop after seven episodes.
Yeah.
97% stop after 7 episodes.
Most people in the business don't make it through this business, or just the entrepreneurs. Like most businesses fail. Entrepreneurs are their
Grit, is that the right word?
It's just, you just got to keep going, and it's just got to deal with adversity, right? Yeah. If like I was just talking about on the other podcast today, it's just people that are able to deal with the adversity. It's just some people are built with it, some people are just not built with it, or what you've gone through in your life. Hear about the stories of people that have hard upbringings, and then they just keep pushing through. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's just you grow up poor. Most people don't believe it, but graduate college with debt and credit card debt, and have to leave your private school when you can't afford it anymore. Things like that. That really just makes you who you are. Makes you a very like nervous, anxious person at the end of the day. But that anxiety, you can turn it into, I'm just going to be constantly trying to achieve my goals, right? Like goals are, you want to be successful, you want to buy stuff, right? You want to, be the best you can in the 18 hours a day you have.
Love it.
Anxiety is a funny thing like that. It can, make you or break you. And I feel like you have obviously channeled it positively, right? So even though you might feel anxious on the interior or inside, you're doing things every day to lessen the chance that you'll fall back to maybe where you started from.
Yes, finding solutions. I mean, I have a closing Friday on this car wash. The lender retraded $600,000, right? You have all the money raised, like that's a significant amount of money. How are you going to figure that out, piece it together? Try to go back to the appraiser and try to get more money? Probably not. Are you going to call some of the existing investors in the deal to put more money in? That's maybe not a good idea. Or if you find a couple new ones, very hard last minute, or you're just going to suck it up and you're going to write that check, and then you're going to work even harder to raise more money and get your money out.
So is that what happened?
That is probably where it's going.
It's an evolving situation.
Partly.
Okay.
Yes, partly.
There's a good book called Only the Paranoid Survive. And I think an element of that, you definitely need some paranoia to keep yourself sharp.
It's all paranoia, because these things happen on a daily basis, right? And I'm not going to get my acquisition fee on time, and all that stuff. It's just this is the business.
Right. Sometimes things rarely work out in a straight line the way you've planned it.
Then it's definitely not, business is not for you. If you think it's just going to be, all easy goings.
Yeah. You're someone who I actually think is kind of under the radar, even though I know you're out there doing things. But when I read about you and when I see what you've done in the past, like you were going gangbusters, like prior to 2017, buying dysregulated stuff like the Del Shah sale, like 50 plus billions, 100 million. You guys were down in Nomad. You had a whole operation set up. I feel like you've had a few different iterations of your life, and you're probably still a pretty young guy.
Yeah, I trying to think of myself that way. I mean, that was just different, it was a different time, different business that doesn't exist anymore, right? It's like there's very few people that are still, they can't do what we were doing. It just doesn't exist, right? And people have tried to come and copy, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, you know what? And you learn your lessons, right? You get too big, you get too fast, your overhead, keep overhead low. That's what I've learned from that. And you don't necessarily need like 30 people in the office. You could survive with, like, we had our company lunch yesterday. We have 14 now. So it's decent. Yeah, it's a tight-knit community. Some people that are, just straight accounting, operations. You got to learn these things, right? Like, you got to learn from some mistakes. And
we talk a lot about running a brokerage team in terms of efficiency and how important that is, just maximizing output and, just becoming efficient in everything you're doing in the operations. But going back to the 100 million, that's a big number. You must pinch yourself for that from your humble upbringing.
What was it like on the morning you were closing that deal? $100 million.
That morning, I just treat it like every other morning. right? Like I didn't get too high, get too low, because I still had other things I was dealing with, right? I had other rent regulated buildings. Like that was like maybe a third of what we had left. And those other things, they're just a daily grind of dealing with them, right? You can't get rid of them fast enough, right? It was like 2015 was the height of the market. I don't know when you guys really started.
16, so missed it.
16. So
17, yeah.
you're like walking down steps almost, right? In the rent stabilized thing, you're walking down steps from.
All we've heard is the myth of a good market, when it comes to rent stabilized.
It's the worst, right? I mean, is there opportunity? I can't even speak to that because I don't know. Like, I personally don't want to spend my time spending 15,000-20,000 on every building that I look at, because if you look, that's what it's going to cost to do your analysis on each building. So if you did that on 10 buildings a year, where are you making up for that money? Unless you have some big fund. I guess there's a few of them out there. I don't really follow it too much. I just it mystifies me, and I give them unbelievable praise how they're able to do it.
So you timed it very well, though, it seems like, right? If you made the sale at a time when, did you see the writing on the wall that things were changing?
I know I tried to sell it all in 2016, 2017, but and I just told the story today, there was only like 1 or 2 buyers for like a chunk of it. And they were like 50% less than the asking price of what the broker evaluated at, of what we deemed was the evaluation. So, and also part of it was greed, probably not transacting soon enough, because I should have probably transacted at those numbers, and I would have done better. I would have sold off more instead of losing some of them.
So you can understand the psychology then of a seller and a buyer, because you've been in.
Now I'm a much I'm a much easier seller, but it's the last 2.5 years when you want to sell something. If you bought something in COVID, you did really well on it, right? But then the interest rates go back up. So it's like, I would love to sell stuff now. You want to sell stuff like now, but you really can't.
It's not that liquid right now.
Right, it's not that liquid right now. So like, I would love to sell a lot, right? And I try to sell a lot. It's just everything's coming in very short, or there's nothing.
The buyers, it's depressed pricing, right? Obviously, values come down. So
right, and the banks are just, not to sound very negative, because it just happened to me at this retrade. I got retraded. I bought a building yesterday. It's going to be untraded in the next couple of days. A small multifamily building in Long Island. A seller at the last minute says, "Oh, you got to put." The bank says you got to put up this escrow. This thing made us uncomfortable. Some nonsense. So if you're not writing that check, it's not closing. You'll lose your deposit. So you put up this escrow, and now you got to fight to get it back. But every bank, and what I'm hearing from other people, it's hard. It's very hard to get these deals closed. I mean, too. I mean,
it's happening all the time. Banks are retrading the buyers, and I think we won't see a proper, robust market until we see bank competition and we see like actual competitive term sheets. Because right now, you get one term sheet from a bank, a buyer runs with it, hopes to God it's still the case in 60 days or 45 days. Rarely is. Even though the Fed is cutting, interest rates are actually going up. So it's kind of, I think until we see the bank side of the equation fixed and the credit markets operating, we're not really going to see a fluid market. Thank you for listening to the Broker Brunch. If you enjoy the show, please hit subscribe so we can reach more people.
Right. And then you have these appraisers, you're basing everything on some guy that doesn't know anything about anything and comes back with something 10% off, and then you have to go back to your seller, right? And then it's or he's going to go back to his investors, or he was going to put this into the deal. It's just all not fun.
Yeah.
What's your feeling where we're at in the cycle right now? You've seen a couple of cycles.
End of 2024, right? We're moving into 2025. What do you think is coming?
I mean, it's got to get better. It can't get much slower, right? I don't know what else to say. But I've seen it. I've seen it in the last couple of months. Even with a couple of Manhattan buildings we were selling, like I got numbers that are offers. We didn't sell it because we don't necessarily have to, but like 20% more than, let's say, a year ago. I mean, they're foreign. I think there's some foreign people out there, but yeah, it's an anomaly. I think that's an anomaly. Yeah, there's no I don't know. There's no one that could syndicate these deals, right?
It is one thing that I do love about New York, though. Despite all the challenges, like there is that get out of jail free card with foreign money or someone who just comes in randomly and
Well, in Manhattan anyway.
in Manhattan anyway, yeah, and maybe not the far flung parts of the boroughs, but you're going to find someone, not every time, but there's always a chance that you will get lucky because this is Manhattan.
And there's only so few of those buildings left, of those free market mixed use. Even in Brooklyn, how many of those buildings are left? 5,000, 6,000, and those move, right? You see those still moving. They sell for 5 caps, 4 caps, 5, 6.
Because they're generational assets, right? They don't move too often. When they do, someone's going to hold it for a long time.
Someone's going to hold it, or they could pump the rents up crazy. The rents there go through the roof, or they put a new retail tenant, and then they could flip the building in a couple of years. So that I see is I just don't compete. I just don't compete with it.
You talked about syndication. You're an individual who syndicated a lot of deals. What advice would you give to a young guy starting out right now looking to syndicate his first deal?
Syndicate their first deal. You got to partner up with people. Don't try to keep the whole GP for yourself. Get in co-GPs that can help. You got to partner up. You got to partner up in every respect. So it's like I used to keep 100% of everything or 50% because I had a partner. But now it's like I could get 10, I could get 15, I could get 20, I could get 25 just to keep. You want to keep things moving. Don't hang on to every last dollar or percentage. Because
what would you do if you were that guy or that girl and you were trying to? What stage of the deal do you come in? Like, where can you add the most value? You're trying to get your first deal going. Should you be going out calling owners, see will they sell their buildings? Should you be calling money people to see will they give you money for a deal? Like, where would you start?
If the person was trying to buy their first thing, I guess it starts with the deal, but they could line up who they're going to call for the money, before and just and feel these people out and be like, if I get something, can I bring it to you? Obviously, some person that's not going to take it from you. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that concern. For it's happened to people, but try to line up the deal and the money simultaneously, or start making your list. I see other people talking about on the podcast. Make your list of all your connections, and if they were in brokerage, it could be people from the brokerage or their clients or parents, friends, whoever. But you got to, people have got to be uncomfortable asking for the money. It's not like you have to be. It's not a natural thing to do. Most people don't want to ask for the money. They feel weird. Right. But
it gets easier, I assume, like over and over.
It has to be like second nature. It's and you're gonna make friends. You're gonna lose friends. It's just the nature of the business. It's a tough fine line between you have friends and then you have colleagues. But like, how many friends can one person have, right? Like, these aren't unless you're playing institutionally, it's totally different. Then they're not your friends, right? They're there to look at everything that you're doing, and really, like, I don't want to say you're owned, but like you're kind of working on their platform, so to speak.
So looking ahead for Hildreth Advisors, so you've been, how many years you're going at, like 4 or 5 years?
6.
6 years?
6.
And your business plan, say, for 2025, what's getting you excited about 2025?
I think it's just, try to increase the canvassing, just try to, more canvassing, doing, look, New Jersey, I've been looking. Yeah, retail, we own a couple things there. I think there's some good areas of Jersey. I still look in Florida. It's very competitive, extremely competitive. More the bread and butter strip centers, buy more car washes, buy more marinas. Laundromats are very hard to come by. These are all very hard to come by because if someone owns something that's cash flowing, why would you sell it? It's got to be the right time, right? So it's like there's certain things that I'm tracking, whether they sell next year or the year after, but I like to try to do one sort of investment, one deal a month. That's really my goal. Like, that's my ultimate. That's my goal. That was a goal someone even said when I worked at Marcus. Like, if you close one deal a month, it's very hard, right? It's very, very hard. Average.
Right. Yeah, if you're closing 12 deals a year, typically you're going to be a happy camper.
You'll be a happy camper
as a
And
broker.
as a broker. That's what I'm doing. There's no difference, right? I'm finding something, and then I'm putting my own name on it, and then selling it to the investors. Investors have to like it. I have to like it because it's my guarantee. It's my name. I have to put money into everything. Sometimes a significant amount of money, and then you have to come up with that.
Are you buying or looking at any notes?
No, I mean I've looked, but no. I mean usually they usually don't come across because I like the true value add stuff. So usually if it's over leveraged, then it's someone who already worked it before me. So they were probably or they failed just because it's something outside of their control with the financing. I mean, it's like they could have bought it at 3% 5 years ago, right? And now the income is just not good enough to support 7. It's somewhere in between, and then they have to like get crushed because of that.
But we're seeing it in the rent stabilized space, but the problem is that not many people want to buy the assets. So it's
Well,
like,
that's different. Yeah, that's just a complete.
you think they might change the laws in the future?
Don't know, but I think, and someone was asking me that the other day, and I said to them, even if they did change, the tenants now are so smart, like, and so sophisticated because ever since 2016, they got all those increased rights and how they could be approached and how much you could offer and how often you can offer. You're still not going to be able to vacate these apartments. The price of the vacating, if it was $50,000 for a small apartment, now I think would be like $250,000,
Yeah.
$300,000.
The budget for legal aid has gone up 20x over the last few
Right.
years.
So it might be your buyout is $400,000, right? Or if someone paying $2,000 a month, like that's how I think that if it does go back, like you'll have to budget that. But the price of the building has also gone up.
Might be the best way to make money in rent stabilized housing is through the buyouts as a tenant.
Right, to move into one, and that's right. Move into one now.
That could be a whole other market that people set up, right? How to find these rent stabilized units.
I'm sure people are doing it, but no one wants to buy them out now. So if
you can't approach them, so
right, you can't even approach them.
Right.
I don't even know how it works.
Yeah, welcome to New York. Yeah. So Hildreth, it seems like it's a growing business. Sounds like that you're going to keep executing on that platform, finding more deals. 2025, from what you said, it's going to be more of the same. Just find those rare opportunities, keep growing the portfolio, keep growing the brand.
Try to sell stuff if possible. Like that would be great. Hopefully, at the ICSC with a guy hired to sell a shopping center, try to sell it at a 7 cap. He's got very little activity.
At a 7 cap for a shopping center.
Yeah. It's just very hard. Very hard. It's like, why would someone would someone buy it? There's one vacancy at a 7. So if you fill that up, maybe it's a 7.5. Still, it's crickets. It's crickets.
We're seeing 7-8 caps plus in the Bronx for retail. That's cash flowing retail.
Right. Some sell, some don't. Right. Now they all don't.
It's like
sell.
whatever you price it at. I feel like you go to market and people tell you, no, it's not low enough. I'm sorry. Even though you think you've factored everything in.
Right. It's just you only need is one person.
You need one person, and thankfully we find them and they step up. But it's twice the amount of work
To find that one person.
To find the one person,
Right.
And they usually dictate stronger terms for their own due diligence, for their own contract. Like we were always pushing 10%, non-contingent.
Those days are
They're gone. I mean, like we said at the developers now, and they laugh at us. And we joke that like developers have unionized and said that everyone gets due diligence because honestly, nobody is signing those non-contingent contracts that we're working with. Because if we don't give it to them, they'll just be like, fine, I'll just go to another deal and they will give it to me.
Right. Or they don't have to do the deal.
So you really
if they're in that
they don't have to
position.
do the deal. You really have to put your arm around the buyer. We're in that stage of the market. Sell them the story, sell them the business plan, show them where the bodies are buried, be transparent, have a clean, crisp deal room that everything is there and they don't have to like work too hard or give themselves a headache trying to figure it out, and just make it easy for them to do the deal. I think that's the value of a broker now, and you probably see it from doing deals with brokers as well.
I mean, absolutely. It's a dichotomy. It's like the brokers are there to help facilitate and get things through. That's definitely a huge benefit to buying with the broker. And sometimes you get the good information, sometimes you don't. Doesn't matter if you have it with the broker or you don't. Sometimes sellers just don't have their act together.
So we have a lot of brokers that listen to the pod, and how should they approach you? What's the best way to do business with you? How can they add value for you going forward?
I mean, I just think texting, I try to get back to every opportunity. I have a nice acquisitions team. I usually just hand things off and then people look at them. I mean, we're looking at the stuff all day long, right? But I have a specific criteria of value add, has to be value add or long-term owned, and multi-tenanted. I don't want single tenant but talk to everyone all the time. That's what it's about, right?
Do everything all the time. I think that's the name of this episode.
The hurricane.
The hurricane.
David
The hurricane.
Shorenstein.
That was the when I was 24, 25. That was then, just beating people down, just like no rules when there were less rules. A lot of rules now for everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the Broker Brunch. We look forward to having you again and seeing how 2025 went. And thanks for your time.